Welcome back to MetaMinds Online, where we empower ambitious and time-poor people unlock the life of their dreams. And today we're talking about permission to reinvent yourself, how we need to give ourselves permission to reinvent ourselves.
Well, really, we're going to give you guys permission to reinvent yourself because, if you are a follower of the podcast, you would have heard that intro is a little bit different. And over our journey for the podcast, Dan, it's been, 2 years now? I think we've reinvented ourselves maybe 4 times, because initially it was just like, we wanted to start out, have a bit of a podcast, have a bit of fun. And it's evolved so many times through that, And if you're a creative person or if you create or do anything in life, really, you will go through changes and it's going to be hard. And like some of the problems that you're going through surrounding that is maybe some identity issues. And it's like, well, how are people going to perceive me and that kind of thing? And it's like, this is really us giving you permission to change because realistically, like in short, if like here we are changing on our podcast right now, and it's a big scary thing because we're pivoting a little bit and diverting to a new audience. And maybe our message is not going to connect with you as a long-term listener now. But, in 3 months' time, nobody is ever going to remember that we changed in the first place. They're not going to be like, remember that time you changed 4 times on your podcast? Like they're too busy living their own life, doing their own thing, right, Dan?
I think it's really important because in society, it's so common that we're worried about this perfectionist mindset and, well, what if people judge us for making this change? And how am I able to make this change and navigate this change and make sense of this new thing that I'm going to be exploring? But it's so important to be able to pivot on different things because potentially it might not be working. You might not actually be hitting on the problem that you're trying to address. You may actually start to evolve and understand that, well, what I was focusing on isn't actually what I should be focusing on here. So it's that whole idea that you need to be fluid and able to give yourself permission to change and give yourself permission to, pivot into a direction that might align better with you and your audience that you're trying to serve. Because at the end of the day, you're potentially creating content to serve other people. So it needs to be something that really aligns with them as well.
And the fact is you're going to change as a person, And if your mission changes, if something that you realize a larger picture and you need to change your content or you need to speak to a different audience, whatever it may be, like you have to actually go after that. And there's a sunk cost fallacy element to it where you're like, oh no, but I did this for a period of time and now that's going to go away. You just have to completely ignore that. Because once you realize, and this is what happened with us, is that we realized the problem that we were trying to, solve for our audience wasn't really resonating as well as we, ideally wanted it to. So we had to change that for you guys, for your benefit, for our benefit. And we have to just let go of any sunk cost fallacy. Because if we're like, oh no, but we can't let that go because then we'll just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Our audience is not going to actually get better, and we're not going to get better. So this is just a part of learning and growing and changing as yourself. You have to, when you realize what you need to do, you have to go after that thing or you'll stay stagnant, right?
Exactly right. And like bigger than just content creation, like reinventing yourself just in general as the type of person you are. Like when I was going through high school, I didn't think I was a confident person, but now I feel like a lot more of a confident, rounded human being. And if I didn't allow myself to reinvent myself and to develop myself as a human being, I would be stuck in that place. And so many people have that through, family that are trying to hold them down, friends, like whatever it is. We always talk about all these potential limiting beliefs or people in our lives that are actually holding us back from our potential. And if we don't allow ourselves to reinvent, then we will actually be stuck in that position. So, if you're listening to this podcast, there's a high chance you're into personal development. And it's really that. It's the idea that any aspect of your life can be reinvented and you can develop yourself in so many different aspects of everyday life that you're experiencing. So I think, it has to be the case to better yourself and develop yourself. Like if you're stuck in that one position, then that is the position that you've actually set your standard of. It's like, I am this person and I'm not able to go past that point, but we're all capable of going past any point that we set on ourselves.
They are limiting beliefs, as you said.
Yeah.
And there's an element of identity there, because it's like your identity can be, caught in this sunk cost fallacy as well. And if your identity is the thing that's holding you back from changing because you identify so heavily with who you are at that particular moment, and then your ego is just like not going to let you actually move forward to be the thing that you need to be so that you can grow and get to that next level. If your identity is what's holding you back, you're screwed because like you really need to challenge your identity all the time. Because that's the thing that, your ego just gets used to. It's like, oh, this is who I am and I'll put myself in this box and then I don't have to get out of it anymore because I'm comfortable. But if you realize that it's like, oh, I have to be that person to move forward, and that person isn't exactly who I am today, that's a part of this whole changing and permission to change, because you need to like realize that that's a different person to who you are, and you're not like stuck in this identity. You can change your identity on a day-to-day basis, you know?
Exactly, which is actually the exciting part of personal development. You know, it allows you to develop yourself not just in like one finite way where it's like, I am this person and I'm going to react this way. There's ways that you can reinvent yourself in all different environments and situations as well. Like, I'm sure you're slightly different at work to what you are with me or with a family member. It's like your values and your core essence of a human being is still similar, but it's allowing yourself to reinvent yourself in different positions, like, and different environments. Like, I know that a lot of people are quite socially anxious. It's like they may see themselves as confident in a one-on-one setting, but they might not see themselves as confident in a social setting. So there leaves a little opening for them to reinvent themselves so that they can potentially build themselves to be more confident in a different environment or a different setting. And I think that's one of the more important things that I guess I have pushed myself to develop and learn. And that's even happened in the new job that I've taken. I'm not a confident public speaker, even though I talk on camera quite frequently. My new role is going to be that. But if I set myself the standard that, well, you're not a public speaker, Dan, so why are you doing that? Just don't do that.
It's a limiting belief.
Exactly. So I'm allowing myself to reinvent this identity that I've put on myself. And ego is hand in hand with identity. It's obviously trying to identify with things to make the processes easier in your life. So it's, again, giving yourself permission to explore different avenues and different ways of being and existing, which is refreshing and exciting, I think.
And so to zoom into what we're talking about here, about the podcast, as we mentioned, you may have noticed that it's a bit of a different intro, and we're talking about a different problem. So if you identify as somebody who is time poor, you lack a lot of time, which is a lot of us in this day and age. And what's the second element, Dan? Ambitious. I didn't forget. I just wanted you to say it, of course. And so if you also identify as being ambitious, you know, which a lot of us do, and generally if you are ambitious, you're generally time poor as well, because you're trying to do all of your life admin and keep up with friends and, you know, go to the gym, and maybe you have a business and a hobby and a couple of, you know, high value friends and a job as well. And we understand that, you know, and so that's who this podcast is for. And if you identify with either of those things, that is who this is for. And, you know, to hit on that time poor element, our podcasts are now going to be around that 10-minute mark, you know, so it's nice and quick and easy. And you can, you know, soak up these ideas in a short period of time once a week, you know, get some of this info, get some of this quick inspiration, refresh, you know, who you are and where you're going in life. And, you know, a lot of our mindset tricks and hacks are going to help you achieve that and become that person so you can live your dream life ultimately.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. And it's such an exciting kind of frontier to adventure into, because like we mentioned before, like limiting beliefs is something that we all have, and it's kind of this problem that we identified. But as we spoke about off camera, when you say to someone like, oh, that's a limiting belief, you don't actually get a feeling from that. It's not like a visceral physiological reaction in your body. You don't really feel anything. But when you say time poor, anyone in the world potentially could actually identify with that. Like most people would go, yeah, I probably don't have enough time, or I feel like I'm working too much, or I feel like I can't catch up with this friend, or how am I meant to start a business? So that whole element of time poor is something that we really want to hit on as the problem. It's something that we're trying to every single day reinvent and make it a bit easier on ourselves. So that's who we want to serve. We want to serve those ambitious people who want to achieve something, who have these aspirations to do wonderful things, but they just don't feel like they've got that time. So that's kind of what we're all about now. That's the whole reinvention of MetaMinds. And it's interesting because, you know, I like to sit down every 6 or so months and either talk to a good friend or just reflect on my own. I like that 6-month period where I'm thinking about where I've gone, who I was and where I want to go, whether that's at work, within myself, within my friendships. And anyone can do this. You know, it's such a valuable thing to reflect on things. And like you said, we've had the podcast for 2 years, four transitions, maybe four kind of variations. And that's pretty much every 6 months we've done that just naturally without even consciously doing it. But I think for people out there who want to reinvent themselves, it's really important to just sit with those emotions of why potentially you haven't tried something different and what is holding you back, what those limiting beliefs are, those things that are holding you back. And that's the powerful work that can allow you and give you permission to try something different.
So yeah, if you can gain inspiration from our story at all, from our changing and giving ourselves permission to change, this is us giving you permission to change. That if you feel like you are not living your dream life right now, and you need to change something, take that step back, analyze what it is, push your identity aside and allow yourself to change and grow and become the new person that you want to be, because it's going to happen every day. You're literally made up of billions of microorganisms, and they are changing every day. So you're pretty much a new person, I think, every 14 days or something? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, okay? I'm a mindset guy, all right? No. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That will round out this episode. Thank you very much for watching. We would love to help you live your dream life. So if any of this resonated with you, make sure to subscribe and, maybe leave us a review on iTunes. We really appreciate you guys when you do that. And we'll see you in the next episode.